So I kind of don't even remember what we were working on last. A little bit. I remember bullets everywhere. I had a long vacation since the last one. So let's just play it a little bit and see what happens. Alright, we got that, and I think we can fire. Yep, that's right. Yes. We want to make it so... Holy cow. Let's make it so our bullets don't collide with us for starters. We could do that. Wow. Why does shooting bullets send us down? I don't know. We can make the bullets not last forever. You know, just have them despawn after some time. That would be good too. There's a few things on our list. Maybe we should make a little list. Maybe we go new file. Todos.md. So let's see, I'll just go hashtag todos. And what is markdown for a checkbox? I think it's like this. Make bullets limited lifetime, or I'll call it limited time to live. Make bullets not collide with my own chopper. Make bullets destruct on impact. That would be good too. Limit rate of fire would be great as well. Let's see how's that look? Open preview. Oh. Let's do a quick markdown checkbox. Forget how to do that. Looks right. Interesting. Does it need like a space between them? Oops. Or in front of them? Oh. Interesting. Alright. You had mentioned something about preloading the max bullet limit. Yeah, so we had like an idea for like object pooling for when we spawn bullets. We want to maybe spawn 20 of them, and then depending on our rate of fire, only, you know, use the same ones over and over again. Which is kind of a good thing to do for performance. Do we need to get into that yet? Probably not really. But it is an option. So let's start here. Make bullets limited time to live. First one, easy. In the projectile class. There's like nothing going on here. We can go... should we make it a public variable? I kind of don't tend to like to do too many public variables with the export, because then we're like adjusting them here, and then I'm not sure if like that's overriding another value or what's been changed. So maybe we'll just like call it a constant or something. So let's go at the top here. Private double time to live equals all right, let's say constant double, like 3, and that'll be 3 seconds. And then what we want to do, public override void underscore process double delta. That's just gonna like increase a timer. We can do another one, private not constant double timer equals 0. And then here we can just, oops, I wrote process. Here we're gonna say what I kind of like to do for these process, like just so I'm not jamming tons of logic into the process method, I like to go do something like this, like handle time to live, right? And then pass in delta. And then I'll just do a little private function, private void handle time to live, double delta. And then we say timer plus equals delta. So that's like, delta is the time between each frame, right? So if you're running at 1 frame per second, delta will be 1. And so what we're doing here is we're increasing the time from the time it starts living. We're going to start increasing this timer, and then we're going to check it against time to live. So we increase the timer here, and we'll say time to live. If timer is greater than time to live, then we're going to I think at this point we can just queue free. And what that does is it queues up this object to be freed from Godot. It gives back the memory, and I think it should null the references, but not to be confused with free, which does it immediately. It'll do it like right in this frame at the moment. I think that tends to cause problems if something disappears mid-frame. So what queue-free does is it waits until the very end of the frame, and then it'll process everything that was queued up to be freed. So we tend to prefer queue-free, just so you don't have something disappear that's depending on it, that it's if something's depending on it, you don't want it to disappear mid-cycle. It gives you time to like make checks again on the next pass through. And so now we should see time to live 3. We could make this really small, like if I made it 1 just to test it. Now we'll see our bullets only make it 1 second into space and then disappear. So if we go, oop. 1 Mississippi, yeah, they're going away. I mean, maybe even 1 is good. Whoa. I think 1 is good. Considering the speed they fly and stuff, I think time to live of 1 is probably good. So that was easy. Make bullets not collide with my own chopper. Alright. This one, I'm a little bit rusty on because I haven't played with collision layers and masks. But it'll be good to brush up on it. So over on the right here, if we click on player, go into the editor, click on player, this is your player, it's collision layers, all the parts of what makes up your chopper. And if we go into look at collision object 2D, that's this collider on it. We see collision, it has a layer and a mask. The layer, physics layer, the collision object is in, can exist in 1 or more layers. So think about this as the layer is, I'm on layer 1 and 2 and 3 if I want, but we'll just keep it 1. And then mask is the layers that I look for. What layers can I see? So if I'm on 1 and I'm only looking on 1, I won't see a different object that's on 2. Right? So we need to keep this in mind. Usually I like to manage this through code, but I think we'll keep it simple for now. Preloading. Oh, sorry, I read that message. Okay, so and do I have chat on screen? I just want to make sure I do. Good. So what we'll do now is we will open down into our resources, our unmanaged resource folder here. It's just everything thrown into one file. Let's open up, and maybe it's time to start organizing this. Projectiles. So we've got the projectile, the main thing. here is the rigid body that we fire. And the collision right here, similar to that. So we're on layer 1 and we're looking for layer 1. Now, if we don't want it to collide with our helicopter, we can change that to 2, right? And I think that our main ground object is probably also layer 1. So you'll notice they probably won't collide with the ground anymore either, right? So that's on 1 and 1 is also. So let's hit play again. See the demo, yeah, there you go. Nice, and you'll notice now that our chopper is not flying all over the place. It's not getting propelled by the bullets. Welcome, Dan, how are you? We're doing a little tutorial here, and is there a demo? This is the demo, my guy. Tutorial mode. Right now we're in tutorial mode, so like feel free to chat as normal, but I'm just gonna try and stay a little bit engaged compared to how I usually am. Alright, so it looks like we're still colliding with the ground. Send a nuke on the chopper. That'll probably be a thing later. But right now we're just getting like the basics set up. What if we go, let's stop that and look at the projectile and check the mask, set the mask to 2 as well. There we go. Now it's not collect, that's what we wanted. So we can see, we don't hit our own chopper when we're shooting, but we also don't hit the ground. So I think we'll like work out what each of those layers mean and what they're for a little bit later. But right now I think this is pretty good. Would you play this game, Dan? Will you play it live on stream when we're done with it? There we go. So that's good. We're gonna keep it's on layer 2. It's gonna be looking for layer 2 for now. We get that figured out. For the mask for the bullets, yep. So we've got the bullets are now on layer 2 and they are looking for layer 2. So right now they can't detect, we can't detect our own chopper. Then I'm thinking something like layer 3 can be enemies, and then we can maybe have the bullets look for layer 2 and 3 or something like that. Technically, like, we don't want bullets to hit other bullets either, so we could take the mask off of 2 as well. It doesn't really matter right now, because bullets are the only thing that exist on layer 2, so really all we need is just the layer to be 2, and the mask we'll figure later on. Yeah, so that takes care of that one. Make bullets not collide with my own chopper. Check. Make bullets destruct on impact. So maybe that's where we start here. Things the bullets can hit. And then limit rate of fire. Should we do this one first? Limit rate of fire, because that rapid fire is getting me a little bit annoyed. Just the sound of that. Let's do that. So we're going into the gun class here. Yours too? It's getting a little annoying? Is that what you mean? It's so fast? Yeah, same. So we're gonna go into the gun class, take another look at our gun here. And basically we've got this is action pressed fire. Basically there's no limit on it because we check it every frame. So okay, here comes the frame, we check the aimer, and then we check if the button is pressed, and if it is, we fire. So every single frame, 200 frames per second or whatever we're playing at right now, it's gonna fire a bullet. So what we want to do is something similar to what we just did in the time to live for projectile, but we'll do it a little bit differently. And maybe since we have these as public export variables, here we go. Public, we'll call it a double again. We can call it cooldown. And right now we'll just start with 1. Our cooldown will be 1. And under that we can go private double cooldown timer equals 0, right? And then similar to how I like to handle have the handle time to live here, I'm going to do a similar thing. In this one I can say handle cooldown timer and then pass in delta like that. If you hit control period, it'll generate that method based on the signature you gave it, which is kind of cool if you're using VS Code and all the same setup as me. We can do this. So if cooldown timer plus equals delta like that. Maybe we not just handle the cooldown, handle fire. Let's call it handle fire. It'll do both things, right? And then we'll take this out. It's going to need the position, right? Wait, projectile actually doesn't use that. We're just, there we go. Needs the direction. All right, so handle fire, you say vector direction. We pass in the direction and delta. So I have a vector 2 direction. Sorry about the flipping around there on you. Baloney, welcome. Sticky Toddler, Ogadab. Appreciate you joining. Baloney, welcome in. So now we're handling fire. We're going to pass in the direction because our logic requires it. And what we're going to do is say if cooldown timer is greater than cooldown, let's do it this way. If cooldown timer is less than cooldown, return. Otherwise, alright, so we're going to increase the timer, do the check. If cooldown timer is still counting up from 0 up to 1 or whatever we set it at, if it's still less than 1, it's going to return. If it's not, it's going to continue on, and we're going to reset it. So cooldown passes 1, now we say cooldown timer equals 0 again, and then we allow us to fire, right? And then next time it comes through, oh wait, are we doing this the wrong way? Sorry, it is greater than. So if cooldown timer, sorry, one more time. If cooldown timer, let me think about this. Doc, alright, thanks for being here. We'll probably still be around in 45 minutes. Drive safe, yeah. Downfall and welcome. Cooldown timer is less than cooldown. Yeah, we return. So that was right. And then it goes above, yes, okay. So then eventually we get above the cooldown and we reset it back to 0 so it can count up again. So as long as it's less than the cooldown, we're going to keep returning here. Okay. Confused myself a little bit there. But that's what we're doing here now. Looks good. Let's try it out. We should get a nice one fire per second. Kinda slow, but not bad. I like it. And I think early on, this is maybe how you start out. It's real slow, then you gotta get the upgrades, right? Sound good? Cool. Something up, yes. Downfall in 55 streams. Let's go. Okay. Very good. Limit rate of fire. That works. Make bullets destruct on impact. This, let's see, how do we want to do this? Back in the projectile class, we have a rigid body. Let's see what methods we get from Godot. Godot docs rigid body 2D. What do we get from Godot for detecting impact? We got properties, methods, signals, body entered, body exited, body shape entered, body shape exited, sleeping state changed. Now, I'm wondering if we need to add a separate trigger to this to determine if it's hit something. Body shape entered. Plan for Chopper in general. Basically, we're just doing a tutorial series because that's something people have been asking about. And so I've been uploading these to YouTube. Do I have that link still handy? Here's the first one. Share, copy. There we go. And you know, just make a fun little tutorial series if people want to learn Godot without AI. This is the way to do it, and here to help basically, so people can join along, ask questions, and kind of follow the tutorial episodes. This is what I'm planning for my evening streams. I'll do one episode a week until we feel like the game's like done enough, or I don't know, I don't really have a long-term plan for it. Might just publish the code so people can use it and look at it, learn from it. But yeah. So yeah, what we're looking for, I think something like this. Body shape entered, body shape exited. What do these say? Emitted when one of rigid bodies shape 2Ds collides with another physics body or tile map shape. So we have, let's see, a shape 2D. Emitted when one of rigid bodies shaped collides with another. So I think that's what we want. Let's test it with this and see if we can get some collision signals to fire. Because it says emitted when one of this rigid body shaped 2Ds collides with another physics body or tile map. So like we could have it collide with the ground again, and we're just gonna first try and get some signals back out of that, right? So how do we want to do this? Yeah, gun.cs again for sure. So like what we did here is we took that trigger logic and put it into handle fire. We're passing the direction in which we're firing, and we're passing the delta between frames because it's gonna run every frame as well, since we call it every frame here. We increment the cooldown by delta. We check if a cooldown, if cooldown timer is less than the cooldown, we return. If it's greater than, we reset it to 0, and we allow the gun to fire if the trigger is pressed. So if the trigger is pressed, this is just the same stuff I copied out of our process method up top. Makes sense. Thanks, Baloney. Right on. That's good. Are you doing the tutorial series? Body, what was it called? Oops. Hold on. Function there. Body shape entered. Body exited, body entered. Emitted when a collision with another... Oh. Maybe we just want body entered. Alright, that's what we'll do. Body entered. Started watching Ep 1 this morning. Nice. Yeah, feel free to boot up Godot if you want. Follow along. Cool to have people actually following and interested. So what we want to do here, this is the first test. I'm not 100% sure this is going to work, but we say in the projectile class, in the ready, we're going to say body entered. That should auto-complete as you type it because it's a method, or I should say an event that we get from Rigid Body 2D since we're inheriting. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. This is good content. And what you want to do here is a little plus equals. So we say body entered plus equals, and then we can say on body entered, like that. And so what that does is we're going to set up a method that subscribes to this event. So you say body entered plus equals on body entered, and then you can control period that, and it'll generate a method for you with the proper parameter. So you can see it says it creates your on body entered. It's a private void, and then it takes a node with the body. So this is, I think, the other body that is colliding with your current body. Body entered, dingers indeed. So what we'll just do here is just say gd.print, let's say body.name, just to see what it does. So like if a bullet hits something, it should print out the name in the console, just like that. So we're subscribing to this event with a little plus equals, and we give it our method. So every time this thing happens, it calls this. I love events. They're fun to set up. They're fun to use. We'll get more into that later, I'm sure, but this is kind of the very basics. This is an event that comes from Rigid Body, and we're just subscribing to it. Okay, so there's a couple things we have to do to make this work. Like we said before, we have our ground, right? Our ground's on layer 1, and our projectile doesn't care about layer 1, right? Remember that? Oops, let's go back to projectile. It's on layer 2, and it doesn't care about anything. So what we're going to do is we'll say layer 3. Mask layer 3. So we're on layer 2, and we're looking for layer 3. That's what our projectile is going to do. So I'm going to click that on and save it. Toots, good evening. Welcome in. And then we're going to go back to our main scene where the ground is. And ground is on layer 3, and it looks for... Or sorry, layer 1. It looks for layer 1. We got to change that. We got to say you're on layer 3 now, and only layer 3. And the ground doesn't actually care about anything. It just sits there, right? So I'm going to unclick mask. And so we have projectile is on layer 2, looking for layer 3. And then we have ground on layer 3, not looking for anyone because it doesn't care. It doesn't do anything. So let's try this out. And if it all goes according to plan, when I shoot a bullet at the ground, it should say ground in the... It is not saying ground, but you see the bullets are hitting. So that's something. So they are seeing the ground on its layer. They're not passing through. The helicopter's passing through. Maybe we should fix that. If we go to player and say, helicopter, you should be looking for layer 3 so you don't pass through it. Let's try this again. Boom, there we go. Now the helicopter can hit the ground. And I'm noticing something. I think we need to be holding the trigger. Oh, I have a bug. Does anyone spot the bug? Go to the gun class. Here's what happens. Only if on the very single frame are you holding the trigger button will this work. Helicopter passing through the ground could solve a bunch of issues historically. True. Yeah, they'd save a lot of lives. However, this is a realistic game. Check this out. Here's our bug. And all my confusion about this greater than less than here, I missed this glaring issue right here. We're only checking if we're fired on the very frame that the cooldown resets. We don't want that. We want to reset the cooldown if we shoot. Like that. So we can let cooldown count up and up and up and up. It doesn't matter. We only want to reset the cooldown if we've shot the gun. So move this cooldown reset inside the action pressed method. Good bug. Glad we could put that out there to see if anyone caught it, and then just use that as a little learning exercise to see if... There we go. Now we fire exactly when we press the button. There we go. Yep, that looks good. Alright, so now let's try to figure out why don't... Do we need... I think I remember something about the shape needing to be a trigger to trigger body entered. Let's read that a little more. Requires contact monitor to be set to true and max contacts reported to be set high enough to detect all the collisions. Let's check that contact monitor then. Look. Contact monitor, it looks like it's defaulted to false. So that's something we need to check. It's probably a performance thing that it's default off by default. Default off by default. What we want to do is just type in here in the ready contact monitor equals true. So when it wakes up, when the projectile wakes up, it'll run the ready command and say, okay, contact monitor is true. I'm going to start looking for contact. Here we go. Let's try and run that again. Still nothing. Rubad, welcome in. Good evening. So as you can see, we're still not getting that trigger firing. So I guess we gotta look a little deeper into what we might be missing. It's physics introduction, troubleshooting physics issues, 2D physics platformer. I'm wondering if I need like yet another shape that's like set to be a trigger. So that's... I think I do. Body shape, sleeping state changed, freeze mode, center of mass, property. Let's go, let's look up a collision shape 2D. Get that in a new tab. We're gonna keep them both open. And I think we need, debug color, disabled, one-way collision. I'm almost wondering if we need a separate shape that acts as like the collision detection. Provides a shape 2D to collision object 2D parent. Do you guys hear the... Oops, that's... Didn't mean to open the olgies there. Do you guys hear the crickets outside my window? Hope that's coming through. It sounds kind of nice. Let's look at collision shapes here. One-way collision. What does that mean? Sets whether the collision shape should only detect collision on one side, top or bottom. No, not that. There's the shape. Not that. I feel like there's something I have in my other game, and like it's kind of different because I kind of handle everything by code there. Canvas scale. I think there's like a I need to set it as a trigger or something. I could find it by looking at my fish code in my game. I know it's in the fish 2D class. Collision detection area 2D, I believe is what I want. We can look that up once we... There we go. Create circle trigger. And here we're setting the layers and the mask. Body entered. Monitoring and monitorable. Maybe it's that. So area 2D. Is that what we need? So do we have to add an area 2D? Sorry to keep flashing the olgies there. If we add a child area 2D to this, which also needs a shape, add child node, and then like maybe we get rid of, I don't know. We'll continue with this for now. Area 2D, and it needs a shape. Collision shape 2D. And I'm gonna make that a circle. Circle shape 2D. And I think what we want to do just for now is make it a little bit bigger than the actual inner circle, right? So we've got this area 2D as a child, and this is kind of like our detection area. I'm wondering why Tonya Zambonia, welcome. Thanks for the aid, Tony, welcome. We're working on our tutorial series here. Glad to have you. Pull up a chair, open Godot. How's your stream? Disable mode, remove, layer. Kind of want to, maybe we look at the docs of the, let's see, cinematic character demo, long demo. Physics platformer demo, maybe that's what we want. I don't want to download the whole thing. Just want to see like what does it look like when we Godot projects save. What does it look like when we collide with the ground with a rigid body 2D? I'm gonna open this 2D physics platformer. Extract here. Physics platformer, it's called. Open with code. Alright, we've got this player GD, which is a rigid body 2D, and let's see what it uses. So this is a GD script. Look at some sample code here. We've got this project open, the physics platformer demo from Godot, and we're looking at the player object here, which is also a rigid body 2D, just like we use. And we're going to see how it handles the triggers. So we're looking at a GD script here. Integrate forces. It's kind of all crammed into this one shot bullet. Here we go. It's instantiating a bullet here, kind of like we do. Get parent bullet linear velocity. Add collision exception with bullet. Interesting. Make bullet and this not collidable. Okay, so that's how it's making it not collide with its own bullets, I guess, or this player. Yes. Yeah, it's making the add collision exception with bullet. So it's creating the bullet and saying, don't collide with this player. Okay. What else do we have? Enemy. Is the enemy a rigid body 2D? It is. Let's see. Collider index. Integrate forces. I'm not familiar with this integrate forces method. State. Reach collider and state got. Function bullet collider. And GD script is hard to read. Call deferred. Re-explode. Sound hit. Bullet collider. Let's see. So bullet collider call deferred. So it calls that method with the state. This really isn't how I do mine at all. I'm not sure what integrate forces is. I'm really interested in what that could mean. Integrate forces. Let's see. How does it work? The player and enemies use dynamic character controllers for movement made with rigid body 2D, which means that they can perfectly interact with physics. There's a see new, and you can even ride enemies. Okay. Because of this, all movement must be done in sync with the physics engine inside of integrate forces. Interesting. So we don't really do it that way, so that doesn't really help us. Doppler Liffler. Yep, that's right. So right now what we're doing is trying to get, we got a little to-do list here. Make bullets destruct on impact. And maybe my problem here is that I've got rigid bodies as the bullets. Maybe that's not necessary. Maybe that makes it harder to detect collisions, but there's got to be an easy way. Get collision. Oh, add collision exception with. That's interesting. Get collision exceptions. So we have those methods available to us. But the problem with this demo is it's like tapping into the... Can we do that too? Public override void integrate forces. Yeah. Physics direct body state 2D. So like we can tap into the physics engine and do our collision detections that way, but I think it's weird that that's how the demo is showing you to do it. It's very weird because what they're doing here is like, okay, if our character is walking, get all the contacts and like cycle through them. If it's a bullet, do this. If it's a wall, do that. I don't like that. Does Godot use trigger-based functionality so you can just worry about hitboxes and not physics? Yes. And I mean, you can worry about both, but right now I'm just trying to figure out how to best worry about hitboxes. I'm trying to keep it simple too, and concise and correct for the tutorial. So I'm being kind of careful on how I go about this. Collision shape 2D. Let's read about this a little. Node that provides a shape 2D to a collision object and allows it to be edited. This can give a detection shape to an area or turn physics body into a solid object. Dodge the creeps demo. What's the physics introduction? Collision objects. Let's read a bit about these. Area 2D nodes provide detection and influence. They can detect when objects overlap and can emit signals when bodies enter or exit. I mean, maybe this is what we want, the Area 2D. Okay. And so I think what we want to do... Should we just make our projectiles an area 2D and not worry about physics with them? At least for this, for the bullet. So here's kind of what I think, is like we're gonna have different types of projectiles. So I don't want to go like too far down the rabbit hole. So like here's some design projectiles, right? We're gonna have different types of projectiles, like bullets. Maybe we go bullets, missiles, lasers, and they're all going to behave a little bit differently. So like a bullet gets let's say started out, maybe a bullet only gets fired in a single direction and travels in that direction. Ooh, bombs, I like that. Yeah, and that might just be like a play on a bullet, missile, or laser, right? But these are the ones I see kind of behaving very differently. Like a bomb could be a subset. Something like that. Gets fired in a single direction, travels in that direction until impact, or TTL expires. And so like for a bullet, let's see, we needs collision detection, area 2D, right? That's kind of all it needs. But if we were to go into like missiles, gets fired in a direction and locks onto a target and does its best to hit the target, right? Explodes after TTL or something. And then it needs collision detection, area 2D. It also needs physics to steer the missile, which is rigid body 2D. So what I'm thinking is we're kind of working on the missile right now without really knowing it. Or maybe we could just make everything the same base class and then expand from there. Lasers are kind of they're kind of a deal of their own, right? Instantly fires from point A to point B, causing damage on anything it hits. Needs a ray cast. We'll get into that later. So here's what I'm thinking. Should a bullet just be a subset of a missile? Maybe. Yes, you're totally right, Tony, and that's kind of what I'm getting at here, right? Is like if we want 1,000 bullets on the screen, we probably don't want them all to be rigid bodies, right? And so you're exactly correct. And that's kind of what I'm hinting at here, is like the simpler a bullet can be or is, then the more we can have on the screen at once, right? So if we want bullets everywhere, and like maybe there's only gonna be so many that it doesn't really matter. So maybe we don't want to optimize too early either. That's kind of a thing when it comes to programming and game design and system design. You don't want to optimize too early, so you might do all this extra work for something that doesn't really matter. Like if we're only going to have like 50 bullets on the screen at once, that's probably okay, to be honest. Yes, yeah. So because a missile is most complicated, homing, etc., a bullet can be a missile that doesn't use all of its... That's right. That's exactly kind of what we're going through right now. You could do that through inheritance. Maybe we'll lean more toward composition, I think, is the way to go here. So, question. subsets. Are bombs and bullets just a subset of a missile? I think so. It might be. So let's continue, and that's why we just called it projectile. Let's continue looking at this. We called it projectile because we want it to be general, right? So what do we do here? On body entered is not really working for us, and I think it's because the body never really gets entered. Like, thing A just hits thing B and they stop, right? So, like, technically, I don't know, it said collision, though. And so what I'm thinking is, like, maybe we need some kind of, like, area 2D trigger to really set this off. And maybe the projectile doesn't actually collide with anything, right? Maybe the rigid body doesn't collide with anything, but it explodes when the area 2D does. Can't be controlled directly. Apply forces to it. Body's behavior can be adjusted. A rigid body always maintains its shape and size, even when forces are applied to it. You need to directly affect the body. You need to override the default physics. You can write custom force integration function. That's what we saw in that other demo. Note, changing the 2D transform or linear velocity often may lead to some unpredictable behaviors. All right, we're not doing that. We want to know Godot detect collision with rigid body 2D. If it tells us we need an area 2D, then so be it. I'm just trying to keep it simple, you know? Enable contact monitor after adding the signal to the... Okay. On body entered. That's what I'm doing. Is body entered connected to the function? Yes. Not sure how to set that up. You can add on body entered to rigid body 2D, but it still can't... Oh... What if we, let's see, public override on yeah, I was thinking maybe there's like a collision, like this mouse enter, mouse exit. Thought maybe there was a collision we can... Yeah, we're loading here. YouTube, skip ahead 20 minutes. You can add on-body entered to the rigid body 2D, but it still can't tell when it collides. Found the solution I need to enable contact monitor. I did that. After adding the signal. Set the max contacts to 50? I wonder what max contacts is. If it's like something like 0, I'm gonna be mad. Let's go back to that physics, rigid body. Max contacts reported 0? Oh, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. Max contacts reported equals 50 or something. Something that's not 0. Oh my goodness. Okay. Did you see that, everybody? Did you see that? Do you see what our problem was? This whole time, I'm like Googling around, reading all the docs. And you see what we're getting here? We're getting ground, ground, ground. It's hitting the ground. It knows what to do. Ah. All right, so what was the issue there? All right, on our projectile, we have this extra collision area 2D. Let's get rid of that. We didn't need that. It had nothing to do with that. What we were missing is the default contact monitor true, max contacts reported. The default is 0. So first of all, contact monitor defaults to off, so it's not even going to look for collisions. Then even if you set that to true, the max contacts that it will report is defaulted to 0. So there's like this double layer blocking you from using this on body entered, or sorry, body entered event. Here we go. So now our bullet hits something, it says ground because we're printing out the name of the body that it hits. All right. Question. I feel like a lot of time people say that composition usually is better over inheritance. So in what kinds of cases would you prefer inheritance? Yeah, it's kind of tricky. I feel like with inheritance, we should talk about what each one is, right? I feel like a lot of times you kind of paint yourself into a corner with inheritance, right? And like if you tend to use it, so this is what's what, right? Composition is like, say you have this class, right? And you call it let's make these smaller, right? I hate to use like such cliche. Say it's called animal, right? Right, and so this class is animal, and an example of composition would be like, say you want it to be a dog, you could say new animal. How do you spell animal again? New animal, right? Sorry, var dog equals new animal, right? So it's always just going to be an animal, but through composition, you're just going to set values like does bark. You're going to set that to true, right? Because dogs do bark. You're going to say has. This is a very rudimentary example. Has scales equals false. Dogs don't have scales, right? And so that's kind of what composition is. You kind of, yeah, they do bark. You kind of add and take away things. Wumbo, welcome in. Thank you. First time chatter. You kind of add and take away things to a single class to make up that which you want your animal to be. So now the difference is with inheritance, you might have a little base class down here that's animal, and it kind of provides your very basic things that all animals do, right? And then through inheritance here, so here's an example of where you might use inheritance. We've got these rigid body 2Ds in Godot, and they can be anything in the game, but the rigid body provides a lot of basic functionality across all rigid body 2Ds, right? But the thing that you want to be careful of, and actually let's change our animal example. Let's change our animal example to real life Godot stuff, actually, where it works and where it doesn't, right? So in Godot, everything is a node at the very like bottom level. Everything in game is a node, right? And then one type of node you have is a node 2D, and this is a node with 2D position, 2D shape, right? And then another type of node that inherits from that is one we're using right now, and there might be some in between here that I'm forgetting about, but rigid body 2D, right? And that's all fine and dandy because it's like well established and it works because the lines are perfectly separated, or at least so much so that they work for Godot, right? But what happens when we say, okay, now from our rigid body 2Ds, we want to say we want projectiles, right? Which is what we're working on now. So we got projectiles and they can do all these things, right? And one kind of projectile is a bullet, right? And another type is a missile. And then another type is bomb. Oh wait, so like a bomb, should that just be a bullet that is a little bit different? It only travels down, maybe? Or no, maybe a bomb should be a missile that that doesn't seek its target. It only, you know. So my point is, I guess, is you can really kind of write yourself into a corner with like, okay, I made the bomb just inherit from bullet, but now I want a bomb that kind of does things that missiles do. So now I have like bomb 2, you know, for one type of bomb and another type of bomb. So and you kind of like send yourself down these branches that have hardline decisions within them, and that's where you can kind of get in trouble with inheritance. If I do inheritance, I tend to keep it real flat. So like in my other game, everything is an entity right there, and right now I've got 2 things: item and character. And I'm already seeing a little bit, even with this simple, as my classes get more and more complex and I add more functionality to my game, I'm already seeing like, well, shoot, you know, they're both entities, but color on a character is different from color on an item, and now I need to add these other things to an item to get color to work as simply as it does on a character. So you see what I mean? It's like, even with such a simple inheritance structure, you can get in trouble real fast. Seems like inheritance is only really effective when you know what behavior will be shared and what will truly be unique between them, or to keep a single script from getting too messy. Yeah, that's kind of a fair way to do it. Amity, yeah. I thought Emily joined chat, and that's why you said amity, but Robert, welcome in. Didn't download Godot, that's alright. You have time. This is only the 3rd episode. So, I'd say at first, keep it simple with composition, and then when you know for sure, or you absolutely need to differentiate, like a lot of cases, it doesn't make sense to have a character and item share a lot of these same properties. So that's why I initially split them up. But now I'm taking things out of character and item and I'm moving them into entity. So in my game, all entities have an inventory. So like a character can have an inventory, and an item can have an inventory. An item with an inventory is a box. A character with an inventory is just a character. So I took that inventory and I moved it back up into entity. So that's kind of an example of composition there within my inheritance structure. And then I also have like, say max capacity or is container. I put that just on item. So when I'm checking items, like, can I add this shoe into this box? It will check the property is container. Can I put this shoe into this banana? False. I cannot put a shoe into a banana because a banana is not not a container. So hope that clears some things up. It's not a clean line between the two. It's kind of like the tool that fits best for your application. Sometimes you use a little bit of both, you know. It's just whatever is best for your certain situation. To be honest, I kind of like a bullet being a missile that doesn't change direction, and a bomb is a bullet that only goes down. I like that too, and maybe has splash damage. Yeah, could be. And that, I think for that reason, we're gonna stick with composition as long as possible, right? So we're gonna, with that, we'll have projectile, and we'll probably just have like a lot of settings that say, kind of dictate how it behaves. Fuzzy, so it's helpful to hear about, hear about the practical side, definitely. Okay. Now, on bodied enter, we know we're hitting the ground, so what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna do this, early and now, right? I'm gonna say we're probably gonna need this. We're gonna call it private void destruct, right? In our projectile class, we're making this destruct method that will kind of handle everything that has to do with it exploding. So what we're gonna do, on body entered, when it hits another thing, we're gonna call destruct. Is that a good name for it, or is it like hint toward destructor as opposed to a constructor? I hope not. I think it's okay. Handle time to live. If timer is greater than time to live, we destruct. Right? And when we destruct, we're just going to queue free for now. Oops, queue free. Sound good? So in destruct, we're putting queue free. And we're calling it here when it collides with something, or if it runs out of time on its timer. So let's check that out. When we hit the ground with our bullets, they should disappear now. Nice. I kind of want them to be faster. It'd be a little bit fun if it was like toot 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 toot. And we can like turn it down again when we, let me close these other projects so they don't confuse me. Time to live. Let's go to our gun. Say cooldown. Let's make it 0.33. So with 3 shots per second. That feels pretty good. Right? All right. I like it. So how's our to-do list looking? Make bullets, destruct on impact. Check, we did it. What do we want to do next? We got, I think we probably talked about last stream, the kind of things we want to do next stream. I don't remember what those are even. If we have any requests in the audience, go ahead and put those in chat. I think things we're gonna need, ultimately, not today, we would change cooldown to a variable. Yes, yep, exactly. Not today. Probably some few episodes away. But yeah, we could maybe do like some kind of like a talent tree, like an upgrade tree or something. We could do pick 3 if we want. And then like all those things would have an influence on the helicopter, how it flies, how it shoots, what kind of weapons you have, how much ammo you have. We'll see. We're just kind of winging it as we go, adding things as we feel like it, right? What else are we gonna need? We're gonna need things like we gotta pick up the NPCs, right? Do I still have my chopper lift tab open? Gameplay. So see the little NPCs there? And why is it so... Why am I getting a half... Oh. There we go. We want to be able to land, and if we're landed, we want people to join the helicopter. So we're gonna say, pick up NPCs. We need enemies, all types of enemies. Things to shoot, things to save, that's right. That's kind of, that sounds good. Maybe we do a little more on like the level work. Should we have like destructible buildings? That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, share the to-do in the Discord. That's a good idea. I hope I have a link to the Discord in the YouTube descriptions. I should. So here we go. That was me. Yeah, I do. Okay. Yeah, we'll share the to-do in the Discord. And then it'll expand and change as we go. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. All right. Should we make, let's make somewhat more of a level, because I kind of don't like hitting play and then just being lost in this vast nothingness, right? It's hard to tell when you're moving, it's hard to tell when you've exited the atmosphere. Parallax, that'd be cool. Let's put it on the list. Everything we say, we're gonna say. Parallax background. Yes. And maybe we put, the done ones can be on top. Here comes the scope creep. I mean, that's not unheard of, right? To have a little parallax in your background. See, I have no idea where the ground is in compared to the helicopter. It's just kind of bouncing around there. So I'm kind of wondering, like, what should our main view be? Is this too close? You know, should we have it like the helicopter just kind of push at the border of the screen? There's an obvious ceiling on this. Maybe we should do that. Ironic Moronic, welcome. Ooh, an elevation thing minimap, like an indicator to tell how far you are above. I think we could use that if we decide to not make the ground static. Like, I kind of like just how this is, and I think, you know, first we just follow the reference, right? If we want to improve or change, we can go from there. And maybe what we do is just kind of copy this design first of all. Like, we get the ground in there, we get the background, we make the helicopter able to move up and down from a certain altitude, but then, like, when you move, I like how the camera kind of pans ahead of you so you can see what's up. I like that. Can you tell you what you tried? Yes, down in the Dan, let me know what you're working on. Were you doing homework? So maybe we do, let me just update this. We'll say bombs, projectile that fires directly down as splash damage. Missiles can have a splash damage too, I bet. Missiles has splash damage. I want to rotate the image around the chopper. So try to change a crosshair to a pointer. Okay. Rotate around the chopper. Okay. So kind of like maybe an arrow that points where you're aiming? Is that what you're thinking? Well, because I don't really like how mine disappears when I aim into the helicopter. So like there's a few things I could do. I could like make the radius bigger. Kind of like where it is in the front though. Could use that to make a compass. Oh, a compass. That is cool. Compass is cool. Compass that kind of points like maybe where the goal is, or that points toward goal or objective. That would be kind of a later thing, depending on, like, I feel like once you get your gameplay loop down and you determine that's something you need, then you add something like that. But it is cool. It's a good idea. Let's start with the ground. Let's see. I want to make my ground. I'm just gonna start by like creating a new texture for the ground, I guess. Let's say open in file manager. And I'm gonna say, I really just like want a blank white canvas for the ground. Up left. Where's my Sprite files? Sprite sheet. So if I just say blank sprite.asprite. Let's go. I'm gonna just change this new thing, sprite size. I'm gonna make it like 32 by 32. Okay. And it's just gonna be a white square for use in anything I need it to replace that Godot image. So then I'm gonna export this as blank sprite.png. Very good. That's in here now. So I've got my ground. Where's this icon? Oh, it's part of the ground, of course. I'm gonna change this. Quick load the blank sprite. There we go. And remember, we made it black so we don't see the Godot face, but now we can turn it all the way back white, or whatever you feel like, however you want yours to be. Let's say ground sprite. I kind of want to make it like Norp Apolog-ish. I'll like stretch this out to be a tight fit to its collider, so it's way less confusing from now on. And like, let's then look at Norp Apolog for some inspiration on like how to make a cool building. There we go. There's that. And maybe we need to separate the camera and start scripting the camera. But I think first I want to get some buildings down so we can actually see like how we're moving. We can have some frame of reference. How's that sound? Owen, let's go. Welcome in. Got the rotation to work, but only in 4-way direction, and it looked weird, so I removed it. So I think you're talking about the 4-way direction. It's probably because of how we're handling our input right now. We're kind of assuming 8 directions, right? Up, right, up, and down, and then any 2 combinations of those on different axes, right? So like we can have up and right, we can have up and left, we can have down and up, or no, down and left, down and right, right? So that we're kind of stuck, and that's why our crosshair moves in, you know, see how it snaps to those positions. I thought about changing this to be smooth, maybe in a future update. What if, I kind of like how we get away from the ground, but like maybe we always see something of the ground and then the helicopter moves up. So it's kind of like a mixture of like centered on the chopper. I don't know, we'll play with that. Like I feel like we should have some kind of max ground so we can never let the ground out of sight, but then from that point the helicopter goes up. Still live, that's right. Welcome in, Doc. Welcome back. See? Okay. Let's look at a little Norp epilogue for inspiration. Like, do the white buildings just come out of the white ground? I believe so. And they've got this nice grayish background. Oh, they're like, that's right. They're transparent. I like that. So we could like build some transparent buildings. What are we rescuing people from? Hospitals? Bases? Army bases and stuff? That's kind of cool. Let's open up our chopper lift. Physics. Godot. Not that. Godot. Projects. Chopper lift. Sprite sheet. Got a sprite. There we go. So maybe we got a little guy. We got a bullet. Maybe we do a thing. I feel like we should move these off of the bottom because I think that's how we're getting that line. When we shoot a bullet, we see the dude's feet. And this isn't a great guy anyway. We can fix that later. Like in Arma, you can be a pilot and deliver supplies, troops, save wounded troops, etc. Yes. We'll have like different types of buildings, maybe different types of cargo even. So there's that. We have tiles. We kind of want it to be bigger than the chopper. Maybe it'd be either like 2 tiles wide, 2 tiles tall. We'll just like start with one building and go from there. So say we go 2 tiles tall will get us up to there. Okay. And this will be like the first large building. And we'll make it simple. And Norp epilogue. You can do yours however you want. I'm gonna make it very Norp epilogue though, I think. How are we doing on the centeredness? So that's 6 to the edge, and that is 5 to the edge. Let's do it one more over then. There we go. And then one more there, so it's centered. It'll be on the ground. I don't think I'll have a ground, but we'll do like a door, maybe windows. Let's go like that. Perfect. How's this look? Silly? Or good? And then maybe doors in the middle, which will just be more window but taller. Like that. And then there, and little doorknob, like so. Doesn't look like lined up very nice, but instead of bullets we shoot hearts and deliver people to the Grateful Dead concert, man. It's a good idea, man. Those little colorful bears that you always see, man. We can actually use the grid to like center these up a little better. There we go. I kind of like maybe if they look a little otherworldly, I don't know. Maybe wider too, like if that was wider and these came out more, like so. Don't want it to be too busy or too like structured, I guess. Maybe it's like some sort of apartments or like living thing. Living domestication. Two, these ones have to come over one like that. There, they're both 2 away from the door. These ones are 6 from the wall. These ones are also 6 from the wall. Perfect. Maybe some like little antennas or something would be cool on the top of these. I don't know why. It's just they're there. Feels kind of Norpy, right? Man, look at those buildings, man. They don't make buildings like this anymore. Gun rack. Oh, they got stuff going on inside the buildings too. I don't want to get carried away. Trees, we need trees. We can have trees too. So that's a building. Rescue guys from rooftops. I was thinking about it. I was thinking we could put a collider on the building because we don't want to crash into them. Same sheet down at the den. I think I'll maybe just continue to make my sheet bigger, but that might break all my animations. We'll see. I'll just expand it as I need it to be expanded, I guess. Let's get like happy little tree in here too. How do we want a tree to look? Like wider at the bottom. Oh, not there though. That's too wide. Something like that. Oh, I'm seeing it. The shape's coming together. Yes. Fill it in. A little crazy. That's kind of cool. Maybe just take this top down a little, and then like, what's this? It either needs something on the other side too to like show that's not a mistake. There we go. That's kind of cool. I think it's off-centered though. It's heavier on the right. It needs to be like that maybe. Then we like trim up the bottom. That's kind of cool. There we go. So I have a building and a tree, temporarily tree. I don't know. Maybe I like them simpler. Where's that Norp tree? They're pretty simple. I don't love these trees if you just look at them, but if you don't look too hard, then you're not going to really think much of it. So let's save that and export it. Yes. Now we're starting to get a lot of scenes here. I think I want to make a scenes folder because we're gonna have a tree scene and a building scene too now. So let's go add, create new folder, and we're gonna call it scenes, and we're gonna get main.scene will go in there. Projectile.scene will go in there. And we're gonna add a new scene. Let's just create one here. So we'll do add new child. You can't collide. Should we make it so you can collide with the trees or not? Let's do a sprite 2D. And then quick load our sprite sheet. How many did we have across? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, it's 8 by 8. So what I did there, I just added a sprite 2D to the main, to the root. We're gonna make it its own scene soon. And then we're gonna say it's an 8 by 8, right? And where is it? Let's move it to somewhere we can see it. There it is, up top. Okay, right now we're on the helicopter. We really want to be... What's the frame coordinates? It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So x is 6, y, or sorry, x is 0, y is 6. There we go. So we've got our sprite sheet, and it's 8 by 8. So we have 8 horizontal frames, 8 vertical frames, and we're on frame 48. We'll get you right there, or 0, 6. And since I don't think trees will be collidable, I think that's good. What we want to do, I want to rename that to tree, save it, right click it, and then save branches scene. And it'll be called tree.scene in the scene folder. Done. And now what we can do is we can add a child node to the main scene, so main node 2D. I'm just going to add another node 2D, just a plain old node 2D, and we'll call it trees for now, and we're going to add that tree to it as a child. So like if we want to hide all the trees, we just need to hide this one node, or we can collapse them like a folder. Sound good? Alright, so what we're doing now is we're going to make a bunch of copies of this tree. There's tree 2. Actually, let's put this one in a good spot. Where's tree 2? Oh, it's way off in oblivion. There we go. And we'll just like put a few around, kind of different heights. Tree 3, where's that now? I don't know if this is the best way to do it. Keep spawning them way down in the middle of nowhere. What we can do is kind of like make some clumps of trees and then copy paste them all over the place. I don't need a ton, just something so I can tell where I am in the world. Something like that. And then maybe one more. But I want like the middle one to be the tallest this time. So what is that, like tree 9 there. Happy little trees all over the map. So that way we can actually tell. Rockabilly, welcome in. Bumped up like a bunch of trees. Alright. Let's play and see how those trees look. Oh, very nice. This one's a little bit sunken in here. Oh, what's cool is going behind them. I think that's a nice touch. We'll have some trees in the foreground, some in the background. That's pretty cool. And then maybe... Oh, something's broken because we're firing every frame again. What is broken? We have some kind of null reference, probably because I moved some scenes around. Gun, handle, fire. Aha, projectile scene. Yep. So anywhere where we have, that's kind of annoying and kind of bad programming. Since we moved our projectile scene, it doesn't know where to look for it. So we have scenes, projectile, that scene. Is there any other .tscn references? I don't think so, just there. Okay, so that's the only one. We should put those in constants later. Parallax, yes. Ironic, you're right. One layer front trees and one behind, that would look good. You could have them parallaxing around. That'd be sweet. Let's try and fix this again, make sure. There we go. Alright, back in action. I think we need more friction against the ground. We shouldn't be able to just slide like this. We should make it so our chopper blows up if we land too hard. I'm going to do this thing though too. Ground sprite. I'm gonna... How did I do that? How did I adjust the size of edit? Maybe... Size? I was like dragging that size around no problem. Before, is it just this? Yeah, I was gonna make this ground lower so the camera can't see under the ground. So just like that. What else? Yeah. Chopper explode if chopper should take damage if landing too hard. Like so. Thank you, Rockabilly. Appreciate it. Alright, here we go. Then let's get that building in. So one more. Add child node. It's gonna be a sprite 2D. Yeah. We kind of do the other ones different, like, so that's a rigid body. This is like a sprite as the main thing. Do we want that? Let's not. Sorry, delete that. Let's just do a child, a node 2D. Or we could do, static body 2D is probably what we really want. So we have a static body 2D. This is going to be our building. I'm going to call it building right off the bat. It's a static body 2D. We have a warning sign that needs a collision shape, right? Add a collision shape 2D. And then we have another warning that it needs an actual shape. It's going to be a square, rectangle shape 2D, just like that. And so on the building, add a child, sprite 2D. Good. Then we select our sprite sheet again, quick load. Sprite sheet there. And then we're gonna do the same thing. It's a 8x8 with a frame. Oh, wait. Region frame coordinates. So this one's actually bigger than one. I wonder if we can just, I don't know if this is the proper way to do it, but, ooh. Basically, we've got this whole box that we want to capture here. And that's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we called it a 4x4, this feels a little hacky. Let's zoom in on that. And then if we go, what is it? 0, 3. Oh, go back one, 0, 2. There's our building. And we're going to adjust the collision shape on it so it fits. Perfect. Building. And then we drag that building down. Remember to grab the root of the building and put it, we'll put it like right here. Very nice. Let's squeak this collision down a little bit. Oh, no scene selected for painting. I'm not trying to paint. There we go. Alright, so then building is going to become its own scene as well. Save branches scene. Building.scene. It's in the scenes folder. Save. And we save our main scene again. And we should collide into that puppy right there. Very cool. Let's make sure. Let's open our building scene. Open an editor. Let's make sure we're on layer 3, right? Whatever the ground is, I think it was 3. Ground is layer 3, yes. Layer 3, and it doesn't care about anything. You can turn the mask off or leave it. It doesn't matter yet. Well, let's hit play now and see. Let's check all our collisions on that. There we go. We can shoot it. We can crash into it. We can land on top of it. Perfect. Check it out, folks. We can stick our rotor through it-ish. Now I'm wondering, like, should we have foreground and background buildings too? I don't know. How would we depict those? I almost feel like the chopper can get going a little too fast. We should be able to limit the chopper's speed. That's going on the list too. Limit the chopper's speed. Let's just limit the speed for now. Like, we've got all these things we talked about, engine upgrades, boosters, whatever we want to add. That'll come in later and we can adjust the acceleration. But so like here, you'll notice like you slide along the ground until you hit down, and I think that increases the friction. I'm wondering if we can just like turn the friction up on the chopper player. Mass. I think there's like a friction. Let's search for it. No? Force, constant force, torque. Maybe the static body has the friction. Look at our ground. Maybe I'm thinking of Unity. I thought it was a pretty easy thing to adjust. It was part of that move and slide, so like if we were looking at our player script. By central force. Oh, we're not using move and slide because that's a character body thing. We don't have a character body. Okay. Transparent in the front, solid in the back. Yeah, something like that. Or like collidable would be, maybe flip that. Transparent in the back. So it looks like it's more part of the background than transparent or solid in the front. Looks more like you'd collide into it if you hit it. Good suggestion. Yeah, we'll think about it. But also, these are like design details. We're just trying to get something playable, right? Maybe like some kind of initial gameplay. All the mechanics, the base mechanics, and we'll be adjusting them as needed. So like one thing we could do, let's look at our player script, and we're gonna do the same thing with colliding. Contact monitor on our player, right? So we need contact monitor and max contacts reported. Now that we know how to do that flawlessly, bring it over to the player's rigid body and go here. Oh, I just thought of something cool. Bombs, missiles, they should have, when they explode, should apply force to their targets. So even if they don't blow them up, bombs too should, because we're using, the fun part about using rigid bodies for everything is we can have a bomb blow up and apply an outward force from where it blew up, and everything that, you know, if it hits maybe the NPCs, they go flying. If it hits like a jet in mid-flight and doesn't explode, it'll wobble as it gets hit. If it hits your chopper, you'll get thrown off course. Since we're using these rigid bodies, we need to take advantage of the fun physics that come along with it, right? Otherwise, we'd be just using normal stuff, right? Normal character bodies. Sorry, I was in the middle of something here. All right, I got a little, should apply force to their targets. I'm gonna put that there and there. We could even do that a little bit on bullets, but more so bombs and missiles, right? Explosives. Can't get lost in the scope creep weeds. I don't know, in the scope creep woods. All right, so here we're gonna do another on-body enter on our player. I'll hit Control dot on there to get a basic method going. Oops. And what I want to do, say like gd.print velocity, linear velocity. Yes. So now when we hit something, we want to say how fast we were going. And I don't think we'll get into it yet. I think it's almost time to wrap up. We've been going for close to 2 hours here. But I think we got a lot of good groundwork laid. We're polishing a little, so it's... So let's check this out. If we go, boop, 0, 0, really? Boop. Oh, weird. All right. That's probably because... Oh, that time it worked. I wonder if, because it's 0, because we stop. So only one time did we actually get a velocity out of that. That one we did too. That one we did. Oh, it's like if we're sliding, it'll do it, but if we come to a dead stop, it's a 0, 0. Okay. And we can do stuff like if we hit the ground, we get some kind of like bounce back force too. This will be so fun. Once we start really taking advantage of the physics in this, it's going to be cool. Limit chopper's speed. Chopper should take damage if landing too hard. And then a subset of that. Chopper should, what do you call that? Bounce force, should bounce back when hitting object too hard, right? Recoil force, yeah. Bounce back, recoil. So like if we smack into a building, you know, right here we're getting the speed at which we hit something, but we want to like, if we hit a building, we don't just stop, we bounce back too. That'll be cool. Linear velocity, I wonder if this is the body's linear velocity in pixels per second. It can be used sporadically, but don't set this every frame because physics may run in another thread and runs at different granularity. Okay. I just kind of wanted like our speed or something. Speed? Velocity? Angular velocity, linear velocity. Yeah, I just thought that would be a little more... See, we kind of collide with the thing, but it says 0, 0. Unless we're sliding against it. So we're getting like the X momentum, but the Y is 0 as we hit the ground. I mean, it's cool that that works, but... Should we do a solid version of that building too? I'm just waiting for the day where I have a whole bunch of sprites made, and then I have to change the size of this sheet. And then redo all my animations. That day will come. So I'm just thinking about foreground, background buildings now. Let's go E and like make these a little bigger here. Does that look like a good opposite of this building? One for foreground, one for background. And we need this to go on all these. Oh. Cut these windows out a little bigger. There we go. Background, foreground. 2 colors is hard. Thank you, Tony. Gotta work on your project, so all right, appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up soon too. I'm just playing around, doing a few things. Maybe the trees could have like a foreground and background version too. Whereas like something like this. I kind of feel bad working on this because this won't apply to everyone's. If you have totally different art, you're free to do what you want with your game. No need to copy this or even implement things the same way. Shoop. All right. Do. Maybe like that. Real meal, welcome. Did I get my ears lowered? No. If that's, I don't know about that first part, but I know the second one is a euphemism for getting a haircut. Actually, I should move these around here. There we go. Move that to there. There we go. Export that again. Cool. And so like say for this building, if we want to make it collidable, then we would go and change to X value of 1. There it is. So now let's see how this plays. Looks crisp either way, thank you. How's your day been, Real Meal? We're doing another session of the Godot tutorial series. We've got some buildings, some trees, and see, look, you can pass through those because they're transparent. I think this like makes sense, right? Anything that's solid, you can't pass through. That's like very easy feedback. Kind of want to scrunch down those windows a little bit. See these? You can pass through them because they're clear. I think it just makes sense. Thank you, Real Meal. Download Godot, you can follow along. I think the door needs to be a little taller. I'm sorry I'm messing with this stuff now. This is just fun. Alright, door equals taller. Both. I boop and boop and doop and doop. And I think I want these to be like more scrunched down, maybe a little overlap between the, like that. If you're on YouTube, you can fast forward through this part if you'd like. But I'm not sure if I'm gonna do much more actual programming in this tutorial. I don't know, the other one looked better before I thought about it too much. There we go. So far so good. Alright, we've got some buildings. We don't really get the collision speed because it happens after we stop. I think what we need to do is like cache the speed maybe. And then we could we could call the cached speed so we'd know like what the last frame was. So like it'd look something like this. And I don't know if we'll do anything with this yet. But we can say private v2 cached linear velocity, like that. And at the end of physics process, we're going to say cached linear velocity equals linear velocity. Right, so it's just going to get whatever the linear velocity was at the end of the frame. I think we could say if it's not 0, 0, then we can cache it. That would be easy. Because my fear here is that... I don't know, I guess it depends on when body entered is hit. Like, is it... Okay, physics process runs. We cache that velocity. Let's just see here, I guess. This is a little test. Cached linear velocity. Let's hit play. Okay, there we go. So that works. We get the last velocity before we hit something. Boom, boom. We're running into stuff, and now we're actually seeing speed instead of 0, 0. So this must be what happens. It runs, the physics engine runs physics process, right? And at the very last step of that, we save whatever our speed was. And then the next frame comes around and says, okay, we've hit something. Your velocity is now 0. Fire off that we've hit something. So after the velocity becomes 0, then we say body entered. And before we were getting... Does this make sense? Yeah. Because before we were getting linear velocity to be 0. And it might be a matter of like whether you call it before or after base process. Oh, interesting. I'm calling... That looks like a bug. Does anyone else have this? Physics process. We're calling base process within physics process. That's kind of bad. I don't know. That's really weird to think what that might do. Is to call process every time you call physics process. But this, it should be calling the base version of whatever it is, right? So that like allows the base rigid body physics processes to be called. And I think that probably happened if I was doing like public override void process. Then I was like, you know what? I want this to be physics process. It wouldn't update here. So that's probably how we got this down here, but you always want to make sure you're only calling the base version of this method. If I didn't explain what this does before, base.physicsProcess says, okay, I'm overriding the rigid body's version of physics process. Like physics process has it, and now since I'm inheriting from rigid body, I want to override that and put my own logic in here, but I also want to apply the method that was in the base class as well. So if you got rid of this, there might be some important things that happen deep in the engine that you don't know you're omitting by getting rid of that. I've never really ran into bugs. I think it's just best practice to make sure you call it. It is meant to be there for that reason. We could cancel. Let's just comment it out, see what happens. My bet is nothing, but we'll see. Yeah, seems like nothing. We're still getting our collision speed. Anyway, I always keep it in there because you never know. Unless you read all the Godot code, you kind of don't know. So now something like if X or Y is greater than whatever, bounce back. Yeah, basically, yeah. So we could always bounce back, right? So we could say, you know, say we hit a wall at 197.32. We can apply a force. Let's see, apply... How are we doing this? Apply central force. Let's grab that. of negative dashed linear velocity, right? So it's that easy, right? So whatever that force was we hit the wall with, we're gonna make it negative and apply a force on it. So this might be kind of a big bounce back. We'll put some kind of multiplier on it, but oh, nothing. And nothing. Okay. Interesting. Did it do it a little bit? Oh, maybe because... maybe it's actually... maybe we need a multiplier on it. Times 10 or something. Whatever we hit. Times 10 or... times force, maybe. Whatever force we go into it with, we'll come out of it with. Let's try it. This might get crazy, but... boom, boom. Okay, yeah. Did you see that? We just like float into the hospital and we just get ping-ponged off of there and it just builds up from there. So obviously we don't want like the full-on multiplier. Maybe force times 0.25 or something. So the opposite force times the force in which we move times 0.25. So it'd be like 50. Multiplier of 50. We want it to slowly die down, not build up. That's pretty good. There we go. That feels good. Boom. Boom. Yeah, that's great. Nice. And actually, I wonder if we want like a full negative bounce back. I wonder. Can we do like a max speed on this helicopter? Velocity, damp mode, damp, angular, constant forces. I don't know. For some reason, on-body entered is dull orange, unused parameter. Oh, okay. So, yep. This body right here, that's, I don't have it, but mine's not being used either. Basically, it's just saying like, you're not using this thing that you pass in, and that's okay. So like it'd get fixed when we eventually we will look. We'll say like things like if body is projectile or something like that. Or if body is enemy, you know, oops, we don't have an enemy yet, but we will eventually reference it. You can ignore that for now. You could also make it an underscore, which just means we're not using it. But it's no problem to just... it's just saying, oops, there we go. It's just saying, hey, you passed in this parameter. Alright, did you mean to use it? Just a little warning. No big deal there. Cool. Yeah, I think this is pretty cool. I think we've got a good bounce back. I don't think we want to bounce back in the... like, we want to skip forward, I think, as opposed to bouncing backward directly. And we could also put like, if you land lightly, it won't bounce, maybe. Like if we have like, because you want to be able to do a smooth landing. But right now it'll bounce at any velocity. That's not great. You know, a nice smooth landing should just set down. So we'll have some kind of gate on that too. Cool. We could do some detection, like, is it a building? Is it a wall? Is it a ground? I don't just have that setting. Did you mean, oh yeah, for like this, it's just settings in your VS Code or your, like if we .NET build, we'll probably get a warning about that sort of thing. No warnings, really? Yeah, I just don't have that setting enabled, whatever that is. Platinum Fox Sand Coffin. That's an interesting thing. Alright, Doc, thank you. I'm gonna wrap up here. Thanks all. Let's change the scene so I can like find. We'll do another one next week. Should be good for Wednesday next week. I think we made some good progress today. Thanks for being here. YouTube, appreciate you.